ada TNT ke?
Tak labur. Tahu nak ambil. Surah ayat kiamat kan kita tu perhara tu. Tapi saya baca Fizilan, saya tak pandai lah pula nak kait dengan
Tak payah ikut disilan tu.
so tak payah kita tak dengan Fizilan lah. Kita just
Tak labur awak.
kita
Memang apa? Kiamat.
kiamat.
Ayat
Aku rasa aku tanya ayat 36.
Tulisan dulu ni. Tulisan dulu. Kawan boleh start dah kan?
Okay,
Okay, boleh start dah.
alright. Okay. Assalamualaikum and hi to doctor and fellow friend. Okay, today I and my group will present about life cycle costing. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is our members. The first one is Nur Adina Adlin bin Abdul Aziz. Second one is Humaira binti Ahmad Ifan. Third one is Nur Hasiah binti Abdul Halim, Siti Suhaila binti Muhammad Sabri, Nurul Syafiqah binti Muhammad, Wanya Fariza Izzati binti Muhammad Isaudin, Umi Kalsum binti Muhammad CB. Next. This is our content. Next. Okay, this is our article that we will present today. The first one is Life Cycle Assessment and Life Cycle Costing of Sanitary Ware Manufacturing. Second one is Sustainable Construction Through Life Cycle Costing. The third one is Life Cycle Costing in LCM, Ambition, Opportunities and Limitation. Next. Okay, so for the introduction, what is life cycle costing? Life cycle costing or whole life costing is the process of estimating how much money you will spend on an asset over the course of its useful life. Whole life costing cover an asset cost from the time you purchase it to the time you get rid of it. And then buy an asset is an cost commitment that extend beyond its price tags. For example, like think a car. The car price tag is only part of the car overall life cycle cost. You also need to consider expenses for car insurance, interest, gas, oil changes, and any other necessary maintenance to keep the car running. Not planning for this additional cost can send you back. And then the cost you buy, use, and maintain a business asset add up. Whether you purchase a car, a copier, a computer, or inventory, you should consider and budget for the asset future costs. Next. What is purpose of the life cycle costing? Life cycle costing (LCC) is an important economic analysis used in the selection of alternatives that impact both pending and future costs. It compares initial investment option and identify the least cost alternative for a 20-year period. What is benefit of the life cycle costing? It results in earlier action to generate revenue or to lower costs than otherwise might be considered. It ensures better decision from a more accurate and realistic assessment of revenue and costs, at least within a particular life cycle stage. It promotes long-term rewarding, and then it provides an overall framework for considering total incremental costs over the lifespan of the product. Next. Okay, this is for the article 1, life cycle assessment and life cycle costing of sanitary ware manufacturing. And next. For the introduction of the Article 1 is about the sanitary ware industry plays an important role in sustaining human well-being and economic growth, and its global market is expected to reach 59.17 billion USD by 2022, with a compound annual growth rate CAGR of 7.8%. Research and Market 2018. The sanitary ware industry is a highly energy and material intensive sector, releasing a great amount of emission to the environment. The third, based on the finding, it is a LCC result of the sensitivity. Its recommendation such as using green material and improving energy efficiency, are provided to promote both the environmental and economic sustainability of sanitary ware production. Next. The purpose for this article, the first one, is to evaluate the environmental impact and economic costs that are associated with the production of 1 ton of sanitary ware. The second one, to identify the processes or material with the high environmental burdens and economic costs. The third one, to provide potentially feasible measures to support sustainable development of the selected factory. Next, I will pass to the next members. Thank you.
Okay, next, the issues or problems of Article 1. The first one is the breakdown of life cycle costs for the production of 1 ton of sanitary ware. Second, the impacts of both processes on the atmosphere are negatively associated with the fuel saving rates. Third, the possible environmental and economic impacts of the life cycle associated with the manufacture of 1 FU sanitary ware are calculated by the heat produced by natural gas combustion. And the last one is both waste product and gypsum recycling rates are negatively associated with overall environmental effects.
So macam nak katanya Allah bagi nama surah ni surah manusia sebab
Okay, I will explain the findings for Article 1. First, the result found that the breakdown of life cycle costs for the production of 1 ton of sanitary ware are over 20% of the overall cost, which are the management costs and sale costs. Materials and energy also account for 16.30% and 13.26% of the total cost, respectively, while the proportion of the equipment, construction, labour, maintenance, transport and tax costs to the total cost are less than 10%.
tapi yang nak
Next.
kenapa dia bagi nama surah manusia ni surah Anas sebab
Second, a detailed contribution analysis is performed to identify the contribution of each involving process. The firing process makes the greatest contribution to all the selected impact categories and account for 17.82% of the total equipment cost and 37.85% of the energy cost. The high environmental impacts and energy costs can be attributed to the use of coal oven gas. The raw material used are also responsible for environmental impacts, where quartz has the highest percentage, followed by kaolin, the fastest of Paris and cardboard boxes respectively. Lastly, sensitivity analysis. First, for saving. When the consumption of the coal oven gas is reduced, the environmental burdens are also decreased. Second, natural gas. Within the increasing use of natural gas, the environmental burdens of all indicators are decreased. Lastly, recycling rate. With increasing recycling rates, the environmental burdens of all indicators are decreased. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.
raja dah.
Okay, korang cover dulu.
Tidak. Oh tidak.
Next is implication for Article 1. First, based on Article 1, these articles are more focused on life cycle assessment rather than life cycle costing. In this article, life cycle costing results show that casting, body preparation and firing are the greatest contributors to the total equipment, material and energy costs respectively. Second, in this study, life cycle costing and life cycle assessment share the same system boundary. The traditional life cycle costing is adopted. Two types of costs are included: capital investment and operational expenditure. The former category includes equipment and construction costs. The latter one contains purchasing and manufacturing expenses, management costs, transportation and sale expenses as well as tax. Next, third, in life cycle costing, managing costs and sale costs are primary contributors of the overall cost, followed by material costs and energy costs. To this case study and also using more environmentally friendly fuels such as a natural gas to reduce the environmental burdens of sanitary ware production. Yet, the use of natural gas requires additional costs. Even carbon tax is considered in life cycle costing. Fourth, provide a comprehensive evaluation of the environmental impacts associated with the production of sanitary ware, an important sector of the ceramic industry, which has been neglected in the current research. Fifth, within the methodology of this study, there is the joint analysis of life cycle assessment and life cycle costing on process level, by which the potential of reducing the environmental burdens and economic costs of sanitary ware production have been identified in detail. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, now let's start for the suggestion. First, for industrial practitioners, the use of green and sustainable materials should be encouraged because the environmental burdens associated with the raw materials, more precisely their extraction processes, cannot be mitigated by improving processes and equipment or switching to more cleaner energy sources. By improving the energy efficiency is a potential route to minimize the environmental impacts of the key processes in sanitary ware production, namely firing and drying. By improving the recycle rates of waste, ware and gypsum can be another viable option to reduce the environmental impacts and economic costs. By using natural gas to replace coke oven gas to diminish the environmental impacts, and the results of the sensitivity analysis prove that it might be more effective than fuel saving. Next. Second, for administrators, environmental impacts can be reduced by increasing energy efficiency. The government should encourage the ceramic manufacturers to improve their energy efficiency by reducing tax or providing subsidies to facilitate the installation of production equipment with high energy efficiency. Replacing coke oven gas with natural gas can reduce environmental impacts but increase costs by 13.8% even considering the carbon tax. This may impede the use of natural gas. The government should make policies to guide sanitary ware manufacturers to expand the use of natural gas, and measures such as increasing pollution tax for the ones still consume coke oven gas and providing subsidies to those use natural gas can be considered. The installment of environmental protection equipment, which aims at constraining emissions from the combustion of coke oven gas such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matter generated. Okay, now I will pass to the next presenter.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. I wish to Madam Yasija and to all my friends. My name is Nur Syafita binti Muhammad. I will present about the conclusion of Article 1. Okay, based on this article, this research made two major contributions. Our first contribution is to provide a comprehensive evaluation of the environmental impact associated with the production of sanitary ware, an important sector of the ceramic industry, which has been neglected in the current research. Secondly, the second contribution is within the methodology of the study, that is the joint analysis of life cycle assessment and life cycle costing on process level, by which the potential of reducing the environmental burden and economical cost of sanitary ware production have been identified in detail. And third, a possible direction of future research can be considered to analyze the environmental impact and cost for adapting advanced manufacturing technologies and paradigms. Okay, I will pass it to the next presenter for the detail of Article 2. Thank you.
Okay, so for the Article 2 is about okay, this is the title of the Article 2. Next, sustainable construction through life cycle costing. Next,
Sorry, sekejap lekat.
Okay, never mind.
okay, so for the introduction of this article is about construction industry is one of the most significant industry that contribute towards socio-economic growth, especially to developing countries. And then life cycle analysis consider all the input and output of acquiring, owning, and disposing of a building system. And then the implementation of LCC in the sustainable construction industry is significantly important to construct the structure and infrastructure project that will meet all the principles of sustainability. The total value of construction project awarded in Malaysia in 2012 amounted to 112.5 billion CIDB Malaysia 2013 and has created a lot of the job opportunities to help boost the country economy. Next. The purpose for this article is the first one, to achieve sustainability over the whole life of building project between life cycle costing and sustainable construction. The second one, to improve the building sustainability performance. The third one, to integrate of environmental, social and economic consideration into construction business strategies and practices. Next. I will pass to the next member. Thank you.
The issue of the article first is energy pollution and climate change. More than half of all resource consumed globally are used in construction, and 45% of energy generated across the world is used to heat, light, and ventilate the buildings, with a further 5% arising from constructing those. Second, materials and waste. The amount of construction materials waste on this site is relatively high and equals 9% by weight of the purchased materials. Third, water supplies. Water supplies are a growing cause for a concern for the construction sector, which has particular high requirements, especially in the manufacture of materials such as steel and concrete. Next. For skill, upskilling employees, the supply chain and the local community can have a positive impact on the sustainability of a business and community, such as greater employment, job satisfaction, and business productivity. Corporate responsibility. The construction industry has been slow to respond to the corporate responsibility by increasing regulation in areas such as carbon emission and waste are forcing companies to improve their processes, and many clients are beginning to demand responsible approach to design and construction.
existing stock. The method used in the construction phase of refurbishment as well as their end use have impact in their sustainability. Next, 7. Sustainable procurement. The procurement of goods, services, and buildings has traditionally has been on two overriding considerations: price and quality. However, the choice people making about what they buy can have a high impact on all aspects of sustainable development. Lastly, sustainable community. Social aspects are often missed out of the construction industry consideration of sustainability despite the important effect that they have on long-term value for money and the well-being of a building occupants. Next.
Okay, this is the finding from the article 2. From the article 2, the study found out that life cycle costing is effective in many areas of the construction industry and can be used at different stages in the life of a building project. It showed that the application of life cycle costing at design stage was chosen as the most influential factor on construction project value. After that, it was followed by the teamwork factor in the preparation of life cycle costing at design stage. Teamwork, teamwork refers to the relationship between each party in the design team and the client. Next, the cost implication for design decision when preparing life cycle costing can take place for the construction project value. This factor is also very important to ensure that the best alternative is selected for a project. Other than that, the findings also found out that one of the factors recognized as critical in sustainable construction project is to apply life cycle assessment analysis. And lastly, the integration of life cycle costing might facilitate collaboration between organizations throughout project design and construction. Especially, life cycle is considered as an influential technique in the construction industry. Okay, lepas itu kita nak present.
Okay, now I will talk about the implication for the Article 2. First, sustainable construction brings additional value to projects. Life cycle costing practices used to ensure that this value are maximized. This means for creating visions of new direction and obtaining objectives towards a base of desired output including formulating policy. Second, the significance of life cycle analysis can distinguish needs from wants. Thus, the fundamental objective sustainable construction can be collaboratively shaped and achieved successfully. Third, the enhancements of living economic standards while increasing the overall quality of life for present and future generations. Life cycle costing can generate significant funds in initial installation and operating costs. It is also one of the best techniques for producing best results in achieving value for money for client. Next. Okay, Okay, the fourth one is pure human relation. Misunderstanding and friction often lead to occurrence of unnecessary costs. Chipmark 2002 state that it is very important to determine the cost implication for design decision when preparing life cycle costing to ensure that the best alternative is selected for a project. Then, in practice, the application of sustainable guidelines for construction processes with the final goal improving quality of life and developing the potential of mankind. The last one is improvement of the building's sustainability performance must begin in the design stage as the potential of optimization in project early phases is higher and the impacts of changes of the buildings and the construction costs are lower. Next, the sustainable decision is that which use professional judgment and vision to give the mankind the maximum value for every the resources invested. Okay, now I will pass to the next presenter.
Kalau dah buat macam ni, awak boleh tanya adik. Apa benda lah yang awak ada sekarang bagi adik.
Okay, the suggestion for the article 2 is the first one is determine the best way to reduce building ownership cost in order to achieve a financially viable investment. Second, public investors are required to meet the objective of sustainable construction, and together they face limited financial resource and frequently a very strict institutional framework including procurement procedure. Getting to an equilibrium between the level of energy efficiency and life cycle cost or benefits serves as a challenge for decision-making process. Third, the earlier planning phases, programming and pre-design, play an important role for the future performance of a construction throughout the life cycle. The optimization potential in the earlier phases is significant and also cheap. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.
Boleh trigger perasaan kalau nak panjang kan.
Okay, this is the conclusion for the article 2. From the article, life cycle costing, principle and tools can be used to achieve and improve sustainability development, especially in construction projects. Secondly, this project opens a way for future studies to explore further on how life cycle costing can statistically exist in sustainable construction, especially to deal with crucial issues of in sustainability. And then this will be beneficial to support the decision making towards greater environmental, social and economic performance of construction industry.
Nak menghadap raja. Tuhan dia Al-Bahar. Tapi kita menghadap Allah bila je. So, dia macam seni je orang bagi macam akak faham kalau awak dengar contoh version lain dia akak ni akak tadabbur akak kalau setiap point ni akan bagi Quran contoh apa Malik apa Malik baca
Okay, this is for the article 3. Life cycle costing in LCM, ambitions, opportunity and limitation. Next.
ni tak apa je kalau terserah awak lepas ni bila awak bagi adik awak bagi point yang
Okay, so for the introduction for this article, during the 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development in Rio, sustainable development was put forth as an important task for the 21st century. A key aspect of sustainable development was and is the consideration of ecological pillar through without specifying the weighting of such priorities indeed values. And then within the area of product focused environmental management, life cycle management LCM attempt to put sustainable development into practice. Next. Okay, so for the purpose for this article is about to clarify important aspect of and to propose a framework for life cycle costing. The second one, to differentiate between external and internal costs, and then to render sustainability accessible, qualifiable, and operational. Next.
tadi kan dah apa yang contoh
Okay, for the
Okay,
issues
I
and
pass for next.
Okay, the issues and problems for Article 3 is the first one is the issue of tax and subsidies. Second, the topic of the cost for which one is accountable is a highly discussed issue in the ICC. To provide some examples are the cost of the user or consumer, the manufacturer or the waste management operator relevant. This is induced by the presence of value added and margins in LCA that do not have equivalence. And the last one is challenges such as estimating and discounting future costs and revenues as well as aligning data for functional unit with financial data remain to be solved and are therefore intensively discussed in the LCC WC of SETAC. And the next presenter.
Okay, I will explain the findings for the Article 3. Firstly, the study found that if all externalities will be completely and perfectly covered by tax and subsidy mechanisms nationally and supranationally, life cycle costing will provide all the necessary information for life cycle management, rendering systematic environmental and other assessment unnecessary for all but new products. Second, only internal and internalized costs should be accounted for in life cycle costing. Next. Okay, third, partial accounting will not create an invalid result in life cycle assessment or life cycle costing, nor in the complementary application in life cycle management if the inventory of financial data included contain the majority of burdens, whether environmental or economic. Lastly, the cost of one actor is the revenue for another one. If the perspective of the assessment is that of the consumer, the cost within the boundaries of the other actors can be viewed as a black box without requiring any differentiation. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, for the implication for Article 3, first, the development of life cycle costing seen though consensus remain lacking to be somewhere in between the aforementioned stage of environmental and social assessment respectively. Second, a free market without any taxes or subsidies to account for externalities, life cycle costing focus on economic system if the following condition is satisfied. Life cycle costing is applied in conjunction with environmental and/or social assessment for the same product system with the same system boundary. Next, for the third for the third one, if the tax system is valid for certain products from social environmental perspective, then integrating externality has suggested by theoretically provide the complementary information needed to consider the social and environmental consequences of a decision. Fourth, the implied life cycle costing without additional assessment cannot serve as a sole indicator for good sustainable life cycle management practice unless there is a validated correlation of low life cycle cost to low environmental and social impacts for specific product or product groups. Fifth, if a manufacturer seeks to optimize the life cycle cost, the detailed process costs that can be allocated to a product within the company are the major focus, for example, in the form of activity-based costing. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, now we go to the part of the suggestion for the Article 3. First, if one relates life cycle costing to life cycle inventories, and this is a strong recommendation of many, then it must be based on the physical life cycle of the goods or service. This implies the inclusion of a product's material, energy, and service flows from acquisition through production, transport, use, disposal, and for every durable installations, such as nuclear reactors, dismantling, and long-term disposal. Second, the cost caused by physical processes and their associated material and energy flows identified by the life cycle inventory analysis tab of life cycle assessment. Expenses such as labor costs or costs for utilizing knowledge, for example patents, transaction costs, for example information flows, as well as marketing expenses have to be considered. Next. Okay, I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, this is the last part for the article 3, which is conclusion. Life cycle costing to be used in life cycle management must be based on a systematic analysis that is complementary to and consistent with parallel environmental and social assessment. Secondly, individual is served as an efficient measuring instrument for estimating the economic feasibility of changes required to move towards sustainable development. And lastly, with this editorial, the authors aim to bring clarification to the field and also to provoke further discussion that might be fruitful to the development of life cycle costing.
berhala SP, formula ski, tempat yang puja dekat
Okay, that's all from our group. Before that, on behalf of my group, I want to say very sorry for the inconvenience to Madam Yasmita. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, never mind. Ali group boleh show your face or not? Hello?
Yes, madam.
Boleh, boleh.
Saya tak kenal lah seorang-seorang. Can you share your face? The rest?
Madam tak
Ni Nurul Syafiq mana lagi? Tak clear. Okay. Okay, never mind. Macam dua orang yang boleh tunjuk muka ni. Orang lain tak tahu kat dekat mana. Okay. So, any suggestion or comment from the rest? Siapa nak bagi suggestion atau comment? Suggestion or comment? Siapa nak panggil nama seorang-seorang?
macam nak cakap kalau satu je tak cukup.
Any suggestions or comment? Ataupun dia tak faham ke boleh tanya dia orang, dia boleh explain balik. Tak ada. Yang artikel tu, yang artikel number 2, is it conduct in Malaysia or where? Artikel number 2,
Malaysia. Betul.
is it the conduct in Malaysia or where? Is it Malaysia ke? Your articles number 2.
Sekejap. Malaysia.
Yang sustainable construction through the life cycle costing tu. Conduct dekat Malaysia ke?
Malaysia.
Ada dia mention tak? Where the research
Malaysia.
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 So
Hanya
the
Malaysia.
sample dia ambil berapa construction company involved? The sample
Yang akan selesaikan masalah kita, yang akan membuka
ada sample kan?
keserabutan kita.
Sekejap.
Allah juga yang control everything, yang benda yang kita tak boleh kontrol ni Allah Raja. Benda-benda yang kita tanam, kita beriman.
Ada tak dia mention tengok dekat result finding tu? Or dekat atau dekat method? Dia mention or not?
Bila kita kenal Allah, kita kan ada automatik yang akan ilahkan dia. Sebelum ni mungkin kita tak kenal Allah yang betul-betul. Alhamdulillah, awak boleh sebutlah betul. Alhamdulillah, kami Allah.
Madam. Shulu.
Tak, dia kata dia buat dekat University of Malaya. Dia tak cakap tak berapa orang. Dia cakap dia buat research tu dekat University of Malaya.
Oh, UM. Okay, never mind. Yang artikel 1 is very interesting sebab they use the green material during dia punya dia produk itu, they use the material that want to protect the environmentals. And satu lagi, they use the life cycle costing untuk identify the breakdown of the cost incurred and that means very good lah that means dia guna selain daripada dia nak save untuk reduce the cost for the life cycle costing during the project dia or the fixed asset, that means they use the life cycle costing also to break down the cost so dia boleh kenal pasti apa cost yang incurred during the process tu. Okay, tu yang kita boleh dapat daripada artikel 1. Okay. And then apa yang finding tu bagi tahu, that mean Dia kata 20% overall cost ada managing cost and the sales cost. So daripada breakdown dia kata 20% tu adalah incurred daripada managing cost dan juga sales cost. And then dia kata why the proportion of equipment, construction labor and transportation take cost to the total cost are less than 10%. Okay, normally for the life cycle costing, most of the company bila dia buat breakdown tu, so dia boleh tahu which stage yang paling banyak cost yang incurred and then dia boleh control lah. So which part yang dia boleh control. Okay, itulah kebanyakannya dia gunalah selain daripada sekarang ni more on kepada untuk reduce the environmental effect kan. And then sebab kita ada satu topik kan pasal tu, most of the company sekarang ni berlumba-lumba nak protect the environment and juga akan incur cost lah. Akan incur cost kat situ. Okay. So we have the topic khas untuk tu. So the rest, so yang macam artikel 3 tu just macam nak bagi tahu je lah what is the hasil costing. And then artikel 1 tu dekat China dia. Is it China?
Madam.
Kat China kan? Tak kan? China rasanya produk apa tu?